All right, everyone, welcome back. Today we will be discussing Venus and the sign of Gemini. But before I do, we must understand, what does Venus represent? So here I have a list of several things you can definitely find through your Venus placement. So starting off with attraction, what is something about you that people absolutely gravitate towards? Imagine having a perfume or cologne that's bottled up by what makes you specifically attractive. And it's just the same for what we are attracted to. And this isn't just exclusive to other people. Think soft beds, the finest linens, ocean views, comfort through tangible things, confidence or lack of confidence. To give you an example, Venus displays if we love to share our intellect but shy away from being center stage. Things that can make us feel uncomfortable, this can be seen through Venus. Money. Now, there are multiple ways to distinguish wealth or income or gains, but Venus guides you to your natural profession or your calling, meaning you could be exceptionally successful at this particular hobby or skill, which seems like you were born to do it. Venus also shows us how we like to spend on our comfort or things we like. An example, if you're highly into astrology, more than likely you've purchased multiple books, especially ones that go into great detail, because Venus is all about the details. The details like how we pay for things, the money we like to carry with us, the high profile credit cards with high limits, a wallet full of cash, or maybe no cash. Venus is always explained as a planet that likes luxuries and things with a high price tag. That can be true, but there are many things that look expensive, but it's actually very cheap or of poor quality. Venus represents things of value or of quality. And this leads me into the wife. In a men's chart, Venus represents the wife in the qualities that she has. She can be graceful, a very nice dresser, or even highly successful or a social butterfly. This can all be seen through Venus. Happiness. Our sensuality is something that could be seen very well through Venus. How alluring do we feel when it comes to the opposite sex? Or do we like to skip over intimacy and get right to the physical act? Our seductiveness can definitely be seen through Venus. Going out in nature, traveling, anything in the arts are all things that can make us happy or we take pleasure in. This is what the planet Venus can represent. Is the grass greener on the other side? This is Venus in Gemini. Here we have Mercury, one of the fastest moving planets, coupled with the slow moving Venus. The sign of Gemini is one of those signs that fall in the first four self development houses. Gemini is mutable air, which represents duality of the mind, a busy mind, an idle mind, a mind that cannot choose just one thing. This means not only is the curiosity high with the Venus in Gemini, but it will be demonstrated with a lot of sampling, testing the waters, feeling things out, especially in their dating and social life. The sign of Gemini rules the third house, and the third house is considered a relational house. Communication is the highest priority when it comes to a Venus in Gemini. They love a good conversation. If you're someone who's intellectual but knows how to blend your intelligence into endless topics that can last all night, you have definitely piqued the interest of a Venus in Gemini person. Witty banter, flirting, and learning describes a Venus in Gemini. If you're centered around a routine and have a lack of interest in discovering new things such as traveling, meeting new people, and even learning a new language, then you will quickly lose the interest of a Venus in Gemini. Remember, Mercury is a quick moving planet. So the negative way the sign of Gemini expresses itself is having a short attention span. The funny thing is, if you're able to tie a Venus and Gemini down, they tend to partner with a spouse that does have some level of seriousness in them. Subconsciously, the Venus and Gemini could be looking for a parent in partners because they know how childlike they can be, not childish. One thing to keep in mind is the subconscious guidance the Venus and Gemini seeks. So it's not unusual that there is another person, maybe older, or a sibling or a friend that they look to for advice or guidance. The Venus and Gemini care a lot about what other people think. When dating a Venus and Gemini, although they're sociable, funny, and outgoing, you would also be surprised to know how shy they are. These are the type of people who would text you or write you a letter to express how they feel, because the detachment through a paper or a pen or a cell phone mask their vulnerability. In my experience, their level of sarcasm or humor is high because It not only lightens the mood, but again deflects the attention away from intimacy. In their constant quest for mental stimulation, Venus and Gemini individuals do great in professions that have a communicative aspect to it. Think marketing, writing, or media like being a journalist or even having a successful social media presence. Many Venus and Gemini individuals won't like to admit it, but a lot of the professions which require talking suits them because they tend to indulge in gossip. Really, it's the child in them emerging who likes to share secrets. The pillow talk will be high with these individuals. Multiplicity is represented under Gemini, and so does being multifaceted in information. But we cannot ignore that Venus is stationed here, so the breaks to slow down and focus on one thing at a time can bog down the Venus in Gemini. This is especially true in relationships. The Venus in Gemini likes fluidity in dating, always looking for the fun in relationships. Partners can see them as careless and almost void of deep emotion. While Venus in Gemini sees dating through the lens of a young child eager to explore, they are really scared of the unknown. To plunge deep with someone after the jokes have ended and the lengthy intellectual exchanges have dried up, they realize that eventually they have to begin revealing themselves, and an almost shy toddler hides in them. To keep from doing this is to stay moving from one relationship to the next. You've spent enough time with someone to have memories, but bail out just in time before it became too serious or too adult. I'm not saying the Venus in Gemini is incapable of being in a successful relationship, but if you find yourself pursuing one, understand that traveling will be constant. This can be travel of the mind or physical travel. Nothing about Gemini is represented as fixed. It's a mutable sign with a mutable element ruled by a mutable planet. And knowing this, work with what you know. A woman with Venus in Gemini may have a huge network of friends and many male suitors that she probably would never date, but certainly enjoys the illusion of a possibility through flirty but witty conversations. It's not surprising to hear the men with Venus in Gemini has the resume of all potential suitors, but keeps a thin line from crossing that boundary if they are partnered with someone. They do, however, tend to leave subtle cues that the window can be open if they were single. I'm just being honest. The person who eventually partners with the Venus in Gemini is responsible, adventurous, has their own life, but always finds time to engage the mind and attraction of their lover. As a reminder, the sign of Gemini rules a relational house, so the Venus in Gemini finds love through bonding. They like partners that they may have something in common with, such as being from the same neighborhood, going to school together, or even being family friends. The last thing I would like to mention is the third house and Gemini being the ruler of this house. So finding where you belong, initial influence and learning can be seen through this house and this sign. Roller coasters can be fun, but eventually the ride has to stop. Venus and Gemini. I would like to thank everyone for taking the time out to watch this presentation, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.